Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, word to my brethren who are all gypsies out there. Tyson Fury, wanted to talk about him because there was a couple things that came out about him over the last couple days. We'll start with to me what's the more interesting news. Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has came out and he said that he spoke with Tyson Fury and that he actually wants to help guide his career, be maybe like a manager of sorts. And he wants to help have a hand in guiding his career, being part of his team. And there's many ways to look at that, but we'll get into that in a minute. Here's what Eddie Hearn said in regards to being part of guiding Tyson Fury's career. He said, I quote, I've spoken to Tyson Fury. I think he needs some help in terms of a team. It's a process that is complicated. He needs the right advice. He wants to box in the biggest shows, be a box office fighter, and fight Anthony Joshua. I can deliver all those things. More importantly, not thinking about his next promotional move. It's more about getting him back in the ring. He has a lot on his plate. I understand that he is a free agent. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but certainly if he was, we would be very interested in working with Tyson Fury. We can give him the biggest heavyweight fights and ultimately work towards the biggest fight in British boxing history. End quote. And my opinion of that is like any one of you guys who know me on this channel, I'm a huge fan of Eddie Hearn. I love Eddie Hearn. I love what he's done for boxing. I love the fact that he's finally here in America. I think he's gonna do a good job here. But Tyson Fury working with Eddie Hearn, I mean, I look Eddie Hearn. A lot of people don't like Eddie Hearn in the UK. I don't know why, but they don't like him. Um, Eddie Hearn, from my perspective at least, is someone that obviously he's a promoter, so promoters can be selfish, and he's like them in that regard. But the difference between Eddie Hearn and other promoters is that he's actually in boxing to make the biggest fights because he understands that by making the biggest fights, he'll make the most money. Other promoters try to do the opposite. They protect their investment and do all that good stuff. Eddie Hearn is not one of them. I don't think he's one of those guys. I think he knows that there's a lot of money in a Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight. And I think he knows that if he can guide Tyson Fury properly and get him into a place in boxing where he's losing the weight, where he's active in the ring, where he's gotten 3, 4, 5 fights under his belt, and he's fit and he's ready to go, and people can actually think that he can beat Anthony Joshua. Because I'm a believer. I've always said this. If a fit Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua, whether it be by stoppage or by knockout. He's too skilled for Anthony Joshua. A fit Tyson Fury is too skilled for Anthony Joshua and every other heavyweight out there. And that's just that there's just no way around it. But that's the big if is if he's in shape, if he's fit. Now we don't know that he's been out the ring for quite some time, that he's abused his body with drugs, and mentally he has been there over the last year and some change. So it's time for I would love to see it. I personally would love to see Tyson Fury over Eddie Hearn, because not only just that, if he wants to get proper fights and proper experience, and there's definitely fighters that Eddie Hearn can fights that Eddie Hearn can make with Tyson Fury. You could have Tyson Fury fight a Dillian White. You could have Tyson Fury fight a Tony Bellew. There's names out there for him. So I wouldn't mind seeing the move. I think it definitely would make the fight so easy to make once Fury would be ready, because Eddie Hearn and Joshua's Eddie Hearn fighter. That could be an in-house thing. They have Sky Sports behind them already. And every British boxing, forget British boxing fans, any boxing fan in general, anybody who follows a sport, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua to me is like, especially if Tyson Fury is fit and he's a live dog in the fight. That's like, to me, that's a better fight than Wilder Joshua, in my opinion, because you have two guys who are completely different. Two guys who are completely different. You have Joshua, who is marketed as the clean cut, good, no homo, but good looking, clean cut, power punching, bodybuilding looking heavyweight, who says all the right things, kind of like a la Derek Jeter. Then you have Tyson Fury, who is the opposite. He is the more chubby, more outspoken, more colorful personality, who people, I feel like the average man could identify. I feel like the average man here on planet Earth could identify Tyson Fury more than Anthony Joshua. I feel like Anthony Joshua is one of those guys where, like, he's one of the few people in sports and entertainment where he's like he's one of those guys where a lot of men want to be him and a lot of women want to be with him. And Tyson Fury is just one of those hardworking, blue collar, outspoken, colorful guys that you run into at work. So I think the average man can identify more with Fury. So it's a great fight. There's a lot of angles to and a lot of storylines in that fight. And it would be the biggest fight in British boxing history for me personally. Like I don't think I've ever. I mean, I'm sure there was big fights. My British fans can correct me, but would there be a bigger fight in British boxing history than Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua if Fury is fit? I don't think so. So with that being said, man, yeah, man, I would love to see Eddie Hearn work with Tyson Fury, because Eddie Hearn is one of the few promoters in boxing who just knows what he's doing, man. He just knows what he's doing. And shout out to Eddie Hearn. As far as Fury, though, he actually also recently explained in a separate article that I saw how he would beat Anthony Joshua. He actually gave out his detailed plan of how he beats Anthony Joshua. This is what he said in regards to that. Well, actually, before I get into the quote, he basically said that he will use a combination of upper body and foot movement to outsmart Anthony Joshua and offset his timing, which I think he would do too. Here's what he said in regards to that. He said, I quote, Anthony Joshua doesn't have great footwork or upper body movement, and he doesn't move too good on angles. To beat someone with those attributes, it would be hard, but someone of my ability can move, box, and twist, and all I'd have to do is make him miss a little bit. And that's what it is, man. And we saw Tyson Fury do that in the Klitschko fight. That's why, in my opinion, I think anybody who says, okay, the Tyson Fury fight versus Klitschko was boring and he sucked and all that nonsense, then with all due respect, you don't know shit about boxing. You don't know anything about boxing, because I thought especially as heavyweight, because a lot of people say, like, oh, as a heavyweight you shouldn't be going 12 rounds, but like, to beat Klitschko the way Tyson Fury did, I think it's first of all, it's very rare, and second of all, it's impressive to me, because he was fighting a guy in Klitschko, all-time great heavyweight. He offset his timing the whole fight, pretty much was in control, which is why he would fight with his hands behind his back, and he's very slick. He's very slick and defensively sound, and was controlling range, offsetting his timing, just had his way in there with Klitschko. And I think if a fit Fury, that's had time to prepare and had 3, 4, 5 fights, does the same thing as Joshua. Maybe even worse, because unlike Klitschko, I think Joshua's ability to control range is not nearly as good as Klitschko. And I could see Tyson Fury lighting him up with some really hard power shots and stopping him. Joshua's chin in the past has shown that it's not the strongest in the world. He's been hurt by Dillian White, to knocked down by Klitschko. Fury could do much of the same and stop him. I really do believe that, if he's, like I said, but I say that, and I preface by saying that if he's had the time to prepare, get in shape, and knock off the cobwebs. If not, then I think Joshua's going to beat him, because Fury will gas out. But that's the news. Eddie Hearn wants to manage Tyson Fury. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Eddie Hearn's just trying to feed an unprepared Fury and continue cashing out AJ, or is he really concerned with making the biggest fight in British boxing history and doing it properly? Eddie Hearn strikes me as a guy who likes to do things properly, the right way. So I think I would like to think that he would actually put the time into, first of all, getting Fury fit. His concentration would be more on the Wilder fight, because I think Joshua would beat Wilder. He'd beat Wilder. Joshua would thus in turn snatch another belt. He would have another belt, and he would be someone that he'd be one belt away from being undisputed, and his profile would grow, and you get a big fight there. And meanwhile, you could in the background have Tyson Fury fighting on the undercards of a fight like that. There's so many ways that Eddie Hearn could go about this, and being the kind of promoter he is, like I said, man, I think he'd make the fight bigger than I even imagined it being. So let me know what you guys think about Eddie Hearn wanting to manage Tyson Fury in the comments down below. And do all that good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow True School Sports on Instagram at True School Sports. My name is Brendan Taylor. And like I always say, You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.